My dear friend, President Trump, I must thank you, who helped us by sending the B-2 airplane.
This is... I'm gonna head out. This is interesting. This means that, I mean, it means that this seems like a concession speech. I mean, he said it comes across like a victory speech, but that is, yeah, he's trying to deliver a victory speech, as in there is a finality with this. Do you understand? Of course, he has to sell it. Of course, he has to sell it to the Israeli public like he got all of his wishes across. But this is, I don't know. This is very, very different than prior instances where he was told it's over, or where he was told, like, oh, ceasefire time. In the past, when he was told it's ceasefire time, he was like, fuck no, it's not. This right here is him basically trying to tell the Israeli public, like, guys, we got all of our wishes across. We did it. Mission accomplished. This is actually, I'm not gonna lie, this is the unique. Amit Segal says, this is strange. What bothers me most about the speech is that Netanyahu's absolute certainty that the deal is going to happen. He said the most astonishing thing. To all those who say it's too good to be true is true. Netanyahu is essentially not even leaving any room for something to go wrong in Cairo. Netanyahu is essentially not even, or what's happening here. We know the partner. We know the dynamics of negotiation. What's going on here is that Netanyahu feels so confident that he's already addressing all of Israel's achievements at Hamas's expense, and even announces, as per Netanyahu's optimism, what the fuck is this thing? Hold on. Let me get all this shit out first. What's going on here that Netanyahu feels so confident he's also addressing all of Israel's achievements at Hamas's expense, even announces, because per Netanyahu's optimism, by the end of Sukkot, all hostages will be released, that after Hamas releases all the hostages, it will also be disarmed either through military or diplomatic means. Something here seems very strange to me, and I'm not sure it's right for the Israeli Prime Minister to get up and say this is guaranteed even before getting into details of how to implement it. I mean, it's obvious that he is trying to say, like, you know, we're done. And he's not going to say we're done and we lost. He's going to say we're done and we achieved all of our military objectives. What's interesting here is that he's saying we're done rather than saying we're not done. Because in the past, ceasefire deals have been presented and he has turned around and said, we're not done. Of course, there's no real ceasefire. We're going to keep bombing. Don't worry. He even said that after his White House meeting, if you remember. He said that. But he's not saying that right now.
And his steadfast stand and help, and he bombed the nuclear facilities. And we would not have been able to achieve that. People said it was too good to be true. Well, I'm telling you, it is true. It really is true. And with the help of God, it'll help, and it will happen very soon. I have guided the negotiation team under the auspices of Dermer to really really make this negotiation only last for a few days. And you heard that President Trump, he is not going to suffer any of those sort of delays on the part of Hamas. And we said that the Hamas will be disarmed and there will be a demilitarization of the Gaza Strip. It'll be done either by us or in a political way, either in the easy way or in the hard way, but it will be achieved. I would like to thank all the security forces and the IDF. You are heroes. I salute you. I embrace all the bereaved families who sacrificed, those who they cherish the most, and all those who suffered so much and sacrificed themselves. And all are wounded. I wish you health. But it is thanks to all of you, and you also, the citizens of the State of Israel, who have been so resilient and stood steadfastly in such tough days, while we were destroying our enemies from Yemen, if we're talking about in the Hezbollah and the Hamas, from one victory to the other, together we are changing the face of the Middle East, and we will continue working in such a way till the eternity of the State of Israel. It says in the Bible that, yes, if we continue thus, then we will be strong and steadfast.
So the words there of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, short, certainly, and an hour and a quarter late. He said to the families, "We have never, ever forgotten you. We share their prayers. They will soon embrace their family members." He said Hamas will release all our hostages. He thanked President Trump and said President Trump won't suffer Hamas delays. Also mentioned America's bombing of Iran's nuclear facilities. He said the demilitarization of Gaza will happen. I salute all the brave families. Thank you to those wounded in the war. And finally, he thanked the Israeli citizens as well. Well, our Middle East correspondent, Adam Parsons, is in Jerusalem. We waited a long time, Adam, to hear from the Prime Minister. He had little to say, but I felt it sounded, perhaps prematurely, like a victory speech. Yeah, it's this whole process, Jonathan, there's a certain element of the Donald Trump about this, isn't there? That he sounds optimistic. He sounds as if this is all terrific news and that he's done wonderfully well. But actually, I was looking for firm details in this, and they're relatively few and far between. So he talked about telling his team, led by Ron Dermer, who's the Minister for Strategic Affairs, that negotiations should continue, but that they should only last for a few days. So in other words, rather like Donald Trump, he's saying we need to focus, we need to get on with this, we can't let this drag on. He said that Hamas will be disarmed and demilitarized, and this could either happen in the easy way or the hard way, but it's not really clear what he meant by the easy way, other than one assumes through negotiation. And he sounded very, very confident about saying that all the hostages would be returned. But in those sort of thorny issues,
I got it, Chatter. You're funny, okay? Funny bit, dude.
About what concessions he was going to make and how he was possibly going to satisfy the angry members of his cabinet. Of that, there was no detail at all. So, yes, I agree with you. The way he framed it was as a very victorious, upbeat speech, one in which he thanked his population, in which he talked rather solemnly about the requirement to bring back hostages and to give burials to those who were coming back dead. But in details at the moment, they are few, other than the fact that quite clearly negotiations, intense negotiations, are going to take place in the coming days.
So the big question, Adam, I guess, is how much further forward are we? There's no deadline as such, is there?
No, and to be blunt, I don't really think there ever was a deadline. I know Donald Trump says there was, but I was never able to find out what breaching that deadline would even mean, because when he said, well, I've given Hamas this deadline, it's like, well, if they miss it, what's going to happen? What, Israel's going to attack? Well, they already are. So it wasn't clear what that deadline ever meant. There's a Sukkot holiday coming up. Very clearly, the anniversary of the October the 7th attacks is approaching. I suspect everybody would like to come up with a deal that coincides.
My friend invited me to go to the Birthright Israel trip program. What are your thoughts on the program itself? Are you insane? Your goal should be to try to get your friend to stop from going to fucking Birthright. Dude, we're talking about a Nazi country doing a fucking Holocaust, and you're like, should I go to the brainwashing free trip where the entire purpose is so I meet like an IDF wife and then live in Israel permanently and play a role in the fucking fascist settler colonial project? Tell your friend the moral stain will live on forever. I think for people like that, because like they're obviously I mean they're brain broken already, but for a person like that, the best possible thing you can do is explain to them how much everybody fucking hates Israel. And that being associated with Israel like that, especially because it's like very clearly designed for propaganda purposes so that it can instill loyalty in the mind of your friend. Like they are volunteering to be fucking brainwashed and be forever associated with a country that is despised by the rest of the fucking planet. Like, it's not even just like brainwashing tactics or whatever. You're just volunteering to associate with a dying brand. Okay? You know what I mean? Like, there was never a good point to go to Birthright. There was never a good moment to go on Birthright. But there is definitely the worst moment to go on Birthright. And today is the worst moment to go on Birthright. You know what I mean? It's like guy who joined the call to arms from Nazi Germany in like 1942. Because Nazi Germany, just like Israel, did a return, did a demand for return for all Germanic peoples. I forget what it was called, but there's a term for it. Yeah, it was in Band of Brothers. Yeah, Lieutenant Spears just fucking murks him. I'm not Zurich ins Reich. Well, what's the English version? Volk Deutsche? Is that what it is? Volk Deutsche. And plenty of, I mean, there were definitely Americans of German descent that took on this call and returned to the fatherland, right? And they got fucking murked. But what's even crazier is to do that call to the fatherland when it's obvious that Nazi Germany is about to be defeated.
With October the 7th. But in terms of any pressing deadline, I don't feel that there necessarily is one, other than the fact that clearly Hamas is a degraded fighting force. The tension in the Arab world has been high ever since Israel attacked Qatar to try to get to the Hamas leadership. There just is a feeling that everybody finally would like a deal and that both sides recognize that the other one has to concede something. All that is left is for those two sides, Hamas and Israel, to realize that they too are going to have to concede something, that we're going to have to end up with a deal where both, if not all three sides, including America, feels it isn't perfect, but it is somehow politically palatable. And how we get to that point and what that deal might look like in terms of Palestinian self-determination is still difficult to grasp.
Hamas says it is ready to begin negotiations immediately to finalize all outstanding issues under President Trump's Gaza peace plan. Yesterday, the U.S. designated terrorist group said it would release all of the remaining October 7th hostages, but Hamas did not address other elements.
Dude, why are there so many fucking weirdos in here, man? Brother, what is going on? Why do you keep demanding that I run ads? Why are there so many fucking... The Hasan Piker Broadcasting Service is sponsored by you, the viewers, for you, the viewers, and nothing else. We don't run ads on the Hasan Piker Broadcast Service. Okay? It's Dan Clancy on an alt.
In Trump's 20-point proposal, like exile and giving up their weapons. The president spoke from the Oval Office yesterday to thank the countries that helped put the deal together. He said they're very close to achieving peace in the Middle East. Earlier, he had warned that Hamas had until Sunday evening to agree to the deal or face, quote, all hell. Deborah Pata is in East Jerusalem with the very latest. Deborah, good morning.
Good morning. Well, despite a qualified response from Hamas to his peace proposal, President Trump has welcomed it and immediately ordered Israel to stop.
A U.S. official said Trump spoke with Erdogan on Friday before Hamas' response, asking him to ensure the movement would not reject the plan. The official added, Trump told him, I've done a lot for you, and now I need you to do this for me. Bibi went too far in Gaza, and Israel has lost a lot of global support. Now I will bring all that support back to them. These guys are out of their fucking minds if they think they can just, like, bring the support back to Israel somehow.
responded to Gaza overnight, saying Hamas is ready for a lasting peace.
This is the closest Israel and Hamas have come to making a deal to end the war since it began nearly 2 years ago.
This is a big day. We'll see how it all turns out. We have to get the final word down in concrete. Everybody was unified in wanting this war to end and seeing peace in the Middle East, and we're very close to achieving that.
Hamas says it is ready to release all the remaining hostages, living and dead, in exchange for Palestinian prisoners, and has agreed to surrender governing power in Gaza. But it wants further negotiations on some of the terms of the proposal and made no mention of laying down its arms, a key demand of the deal. Israelis are daring to hope once more.
I hope this will bring peace for Palestinians, for Israelis, and no more war, and the hostages back home.
I really hope that this war will end and we'll start living again.
And in Gaza, there was overwhelming relief from Palestinians who have endured nearly 2 years of a punishing war that's left more than 66,000 people dead. I hope the bloodbath stops, this man said. That's the most important thing. Every day we are dying 1,000 times. We're exhausted after 2 years, another man said. There's nothing left. We've suffered so much and paid a terrible price. There were a few reported incidents of Israeli fire overnight, but for the first time in a very long time, the guns were silent in most parts of Gaza.
Now, there are still some murky areas that need thrashing out in the proposed deal, but both Israel and Hamas have indicated they are ready to talk, and negotiations around the logistics of releasing hostages in exchange for Palestinian prisoners could begin as early as tomorrow. Michelle?
Deborah, thank you.
After nearly 2 years to the day of grinding war, there is at least a reason to celebrate. When news spread that Hamas had conditionally accepted the Trump plan, people took to the streets. The hope is that the bloodshed will soon be over. Overnight, explosions were seen across the Strip, but the Israeli military has reportedly moved to a defensive posture after Donald Trump.
This shit is so disingenuous, too. Oh, they're disingenuously blowing it up. For the record, once again, always had this power and still does to this day. One phone call. Contrary to what was reported overnight, coordination between Trump and Netanyahu is complete. They spoke before publishing the statement. The prime minister was not surprised, says Wynette. I lean towards, yes, these fake rifts have been a constant tactic to mask how coordinated they are on everything. And Barack Ravid also helped spread those fake stories in the past, as he's doing now. I'm still worried. I am still worried because, yes, Donald Trump does have the capacity to stop Israel with a phone call. And yet Donald Trump has only used that phone call to further scheme with Israel over and over again. But the only difference here is that Benjamin Netanyahu isn't speaking like he's going to continue the bombing campaign, but instead started talking about victory. And that has a finality to it. Okay? Just dropped on the negotiations. After negotiations, Israel has agreed to the initial withdrawal line, which we have shown to and share with Hamas. When Hamas confirms the ceasefire will be immediately effective, the hostage and prisoner exchange will begin, and we will create the conditions for the next phase of the withdrawal, which will bring us close to the end of this 3,000-year catastrophe. Thank you for the attention to this matter. Stay tuned. What is the worst case here? 3,000 years, by the way. Oh, God, these guys are so fucking stupid. Worst case is that this is yet another scheme, and they're faking it, and they're gonna take out the hostages because it's been like somewhat of a political hurdle for Netanyahu and Israel, I guess. And then they're gonna immediately keep bombing and implement the Rafah concentration camp ethnic cleansing campaign. That's the worst case. I'm not saying that that's going to happen. You asked me what the worst case scenario is. That's the worst case.
Commanded the bombing to stop. In this busy market, there was cautious optimism that a ceasefire at least would take hold.
We want this war to end and for Hamas to agree to end it. It's over. We're exhausted. It's time for peace.
Our greatest hope is to return to our homes, our work, and our normal lives. We pray that God brings us goodness and allows people to live once again the natural, peaceful lives we once had.
And in Israel, families of those being held captive were also hopeful their loved ones would soon be coming home. There have been protests here over the government's approach since the war began. This is clearly a significant moment. The diplomacy that started here in the Oval Office at the beginning of the week with the announcement that a deal was in reach is gathering momentum. And less than an hour after Hamas had tacitly accepted, Donald Trump had released a video talking up his deal and stressing that all sides would be treated fairly.
This is a big day. We'll see how it all turns out. We have to get the final word down in concrete. Very importantly, I look forward to having the hostages come home to their parents.
The reaction on the Israeli side has been cautious. The Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office saying that Israel is preparing for the immediate implementation of the first stage of the plan.
There is, though, still much that could go wrong. Hamas's acceptance is conditional and subject to further negotiations. Any release of the hostages and a stopping of the violence is likely days away. The expectation now is that new indirect talks will take place imminently in Egypt.
The war in Gaza has caused enormous suffering, but at last the world may be witnessing it reaching its end point. The Trump plan envisages a comprehensive peace in the Middle East. Whilst that may remain elusive, a ceasefire and the release of the hostages does appear to be within reach. Alex Rossi, Sky News, Jerusalem.